All right, YouTube subscribers and members, I'm doing a video update. Gonna look at a few things. Shout out to the members with a lot of good requests recently. I'm gonna be putting a couple of those in this market update. First, I'm gonna be going through IWM just as a proxy for uh, more of the risk in the markets, the small caps, and what I think is in play here, but through the lens of history as well as through the lens of Wyckoff, through the lens of trend, through the lens of Elliott Wave. Going to sum all that up here. Then we're going to go with the members and their requests. I'm going to do ETH, Link, and AMC. ETH, Link, and AMC. And then this weekend, I'm going to do another member video and go through a couple Bitcoin potential paths in the short term, and then a couple other altcoin requests that I have, and maybe throw in gold and silver and the dollar as well. All right, let's jump into it. So IWM, this is a weekly chart, folks, and this goes all the way back to let's go all the way back to 2007, okay? 2007. And what we're essentially just trying to do here is, I mean, this is just more of a lesson in patience than anything. We can see with just the structure, I've got the 30-week moving average up. That's what I've got up here in red. And essentially what we're seeking uh, to look at is, what is a historical pattern at all-time high yielded once that all-time high was breached in the context of an uptrend after a large reaccumulation or accumulation. Those are the set of circumstances that we're looking to hone in on and then assign a probability to where we are now with the same set of circumstances. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take any of this as financial advice. I'm just presenting my convictions here. This is an educational channel for you to get a unique perspective. But as always, do your own research. So looking at an all-time high structure going back to 2010, right? We are making our way out of this thing. You've got a LPS, you've got a backup to LPS. This is a sign of strength, right? For those of you that have been following me and seen my Wyckoff images, I'm not going to pull it up now, but essentially you get up to a previous all-time high here. We had the all-time high, right? Breached it and then backed up below it and then just kind of consolidated in this kind of triangle formation, this compression, compression, compression. That's a sign of strength in essence. This is a backup to a last point of support. And so once those set of circumstances were present and the market finally, right, higher lows, higher highs, tighter and tighter, energy is released in the form of an impulse, you saw a 54% rally in the span of 2 years following that eventual breakout. Okay, great. When was the next time that we had a similar look on IWM, where you then had a period of reaccumulation, local distribution, 30 weeks coming down, downtrend, right? Rejection, spring, LPS, 30 weeks starts coiling back up to LPS, sign of strength area, and then it blasts through, and then you just had this vertical accumulation for the term vertical reaccumulation from 2016 to 2018, another 2 years to the tune of 43%. Okay, all right, that's instant number two. Then what do we have? We had a prolonged in essence, prolonged reaccumulation, flat correction, right? You had an A, B, C, that's an expanding flat type of correction there. Let's see if we put the wicks up. Did it in fact, did B exceed? It did. B exceeded, slightly exceeded the top here, the impulsive top. So that'd be an expanding flat type of correction. All the while, the 30-week flattening out, kind of coming down. Spring, LPS, LPS, back up to LPS, and then gone. No real SOS here, right? Notice there wasn't much of an SOS here either. Things can be very, very tricky, for people looking for checkbacks at all-time highs, right? Which is why I always kind of say, for things that potentially are entering expansion, it can be very difficult because the checkbacks aren't that easy to catch, right? For example, 2016, straight line, and you never retested that all-time high. It just started moving away. And so what do we see after this broke 45% in the matter of less than a year's time? It's a massive move. All right, so where does that bring us to right now? That brings us to the largest reaccumulation that we've seen since 2010 in the form of a local distribution. Okay, local distribution, up thrust after distribution, test 30-week downtrend. Okay. Larger scale reaccumulation where you have your selling climax, you have a secondary test, and then just kind of consolidating, up thrust here, test, and then spring, LPS, jumping the creek, LPS, LPS, sign of strength, and now expansion, backing up again, checking back. And here we are at this previous all-time high region. Where are we in the context of the trend? Trend analysis tells us, looking at the 30 weeks going that way. The bias has to be in the direction of the trend. That's an uptrend. Right? Let's say IWM was doing this every single day, up and back and like the craziest volatility you've ever seen in your entire life, which would never happen. I'm just giving you an example. That would be an uptrend. All right, right? 30% down 20%, or 40% down 20. I mean, that's an uptrend. It's not easy because it's very volatile, and that's what IWM has proven to be. But the point I'm making here, folks, is that this is an uptrend. And anytime we've had major pullbacks in this uptrend, that's where we need to be the most bullish, because they've produced some of the strongest rallies. Okay, so does a strong rally start Monday? I don't know. Like I always say, these things are very, very difficult to project. I thought IWM would hold a week ago, but didn't. The gap filled. And so all I know is we're got more space above this 30-week than we did last time, than we did the time before. There's no space. Okay, so spaces are getting bigger. That just tells me the next leg should be higher, and it's a stronger trend. As the space grows early on in a new trend, the character of the market to me is in building strength. More buyers step in on dips than previous dips. That's strength. That's what this space is. That's all that is. And so next move for IWM, whenever it starts, let's just use the lowest end of what we've seen in the last three that I've depicted, right? To the tune of 40%, 43%, 52%. Let's just say it's the most muted, which it should be the opposite. Why should it be the opposite? Because this is the largest reaccumulation that I've shared with you, right? That's the largest reaccumulation that I've shared. So it should be the opposite. So I should be saying that 50% plus in 2 years is the benchmark. But let's just say 40%. And so a 40% move from these levels could take us to 309 on IWM. Timing, who the heck knows? Could be 6 months, could be 2 years. I showed you the spectrum, right? The spectrum of when that's happened in the past. And again, the past doesn't guarantee the future, but it does inform probabilities. And so IWM here, folks, is looking, it couldn't be more bullish. I just shared a set of circumstances that are in play right now that have preceded 40 to 52% gains. And that's the type of environment where some of these small caps that I'm covering in the members videos, that I'm covering, I post on my X subscriber feed, can have outsized gains. In those environments, some of the names like Square and PayPal and the miners can easily 2, 3, 4, X in that environment, even more than that. So IWM looking fantastic. Next, let's look at ETH. This is the members request. Let me just do the zoom out on ETH first. Weekly chart, continues to look constructive. Not a whole lot's changed since the last update on ETH. I'm still seeing this as an impulsive sub 1 or minor 1 coming out of the sub 4. And these counts look pretty clean to me, right? Whereas we have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have clear moves, and 1, 3 similar in length. And so, without any extensions at all in play here, a minimum target could be 8,600. I think ETH is going to do more, but that's my wave 3 target. And like I always say, forget Ethereum, forget anything else, forget specific assets. But in Elliott wave, the majority of participants look to take their profits in wave 3. Okay, because wave 5 is never guaranteed in anything, or it could be truncated. And so that wave 3 target aligns with equality of impulses of the prior 2 moves. And maybe this third was a little bit extended. Either way, my target for this third wave move here, 3rd of 5, is this $8,000 range. Now let's look at the daily. Let's just do a little daily speculation. Not a lot of clarity for me here. I see two kind of things going on from a low time frame impulsive movement standpoint. Whereas we have the potential for, 1, kind of this flat correction, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 here, okay, making 1. And then potentially A, B, C is in this scenario. So 3-wave move. And now this is just a sub 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing that we're looking for that. That's option number 1. Option number 2 would be in terms of just this count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to make 1 here. And we have A, B, and then there's just one more C leg down. One more C leg down. And the most logical place for that would be, let me get rid of these lines, would be this demand zone. In that region, you kind of reach the cloud. Let's just take a look at a fib. Origin of impulse. I'll pull up some common ones: 618, 786, 382. Yeah, I mean the 50% retracement would come into this demand zone at 3107 to complete a C, and that would, the way that the structure is unfolding, that would need to happen fairly quickly. We're talking, in the matter of the next couple of weeks, right? Because there's two ways to interpret. Um, well, let me put that back up. Yeah, and here's the thing though, is we already hit the 50% retracement. And so, that would be a truncated double bottom for a C. What would breach C would be a 382 down to 2909. That's also a possibility. That's a pretty deep retracement, but not out of the realm of what we've seen. Uh, and so both of those scenarios are in play. I mean, both of those scenarios are in play for a two to be complete here. I'm just speculating. What I will say is that this price action looks weak, right? This looks very, very weak. It has the looks of wanting one more leg down. Um, why do I say that? Well, it just does. It looks heavy. But here's the problem here's a problem with trading in general, and why don't advocate trading low time frame stuff versus just letting, holding and accumulating on pullbacks, right? On assets that I want to be a participant in, not guessing where this is going to go. Uh, but, after an impulse on any of these fib levels, are good places to add. And if anyone's lucky enough and wanted ETH exposure, that may be a place if you were to get it to do it. But the problem is this: is the market makers, they know all of the bullish structures, right? I'm not doing anything special here. Um, this is a weak looking structure, and things always look the weakest before they're actually the strongest. Much like when, things are looking the strongest, right? So, bull flag, right? It's consolidating at this all-time high region. And then, what did it do? And so these things looks are very deceiving. And so just because I think something looks weak here, right? Because this is a weak bounce, where did it bounce into? Right? This entire area, right? This is the area everyone's looking at and saying, oh, it needs to get reclaimed. That's the area that needs to get reclaimed, right? Because you're essentially, if you're putting my trader's hat on here, you have a range, right? An established range up here, right? Wicks, 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 demand, 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 rejection, rejection. This range with one candle was breached. And so now that's where the supply is. Supply zone, uh, that order block, a lot of sellers there, and supply has been offloaded every time it gets into that zone. And so you're essentially stuck between these two little bit bear flag, right? And everyone's looking at these things. And so I was like, oh, that's the way should be going. And so maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I just don't like to look at something and say because it looks weak, it's ready to go down. Because that's exactly what the market is trying to instill in the participants. So again, nothing actionable here, and I don't have a bias short term on ETH. Much like with Bitcoin, in the short term, it's anybody's guess. And long term, I've got my very clear path projected. Chainlink. Here's another example of what potentially could be construed as weakness. Whereas something like ETH, I just shared, retraced 50% of that move off of its latest impulse. ETH is working on an impulse 618 retracement. But now it's forming this right shoulder, and everyone's looking at these same things, right? We've got a head and shoulders, head and shoulders, head and shoulders. And, there's the neckline. And we have to be aware of these, right? Just because we can't always be contrarian, that the target of that, if that were to break, and this is in fact a valid head and shoulders, is 12. That's a long way down. However, we saw a lot of volatility in the markets. We're holding the 618. This is a very strong impulsive move after such a large reaccumulation. Let me put the weekly up. Okay. Um, the 30 week literally is just starting to coil up. The bias here has to be in continuation of the trend. That 30 week is, to test that even is at 15. The inverse head and shoulders, or the head and shoulders target's lower than that. I'm not really liking that head and shoulders target. I mean, we already had one. We had a really big one here that resolved. And let's just see if that target resolved itself on this first impulse. I mean, it didn't, right? Like these things are, that's why these things are not reliable in bull trends. I mean, they're reliable in bear trends or in um, ranging environments more so than they are in bull trends. Because I just shared a scenario where we had a very large, I mean, this is a big one, and this is on a 1-2 correction. Okay, a 1-2 correction couldn't even manage to get anywhere near the target of that head and shoulders. And that's why I just, I don't think I'm seeing a lot of people calling those out. And I think they're a lot less reliable than people think. Um, the bias here has to be after, basing, stage 1 basing, stage 2 uptrend, okay? And then we had a reaccumulation. Reaccumulation, where is this reaccumulating, by the way? Let me zoom in. This is important. Where is it reaccumulating? Or where had it reaccumulated? Above its entire reaccumulation base, right? Where you did somehow get a wick back into, right, where it broke out. So this is one of those rare where you did get a retest of that base, but it happened a lot later, right? So it broke out October 23. Over almost a year later is where it retested that breakout. And so the bias has to be this just started again. This just started again. And if we're looking at the energy of just the one, okay, just that impulsive movement, let me put that on 2 because it might be hard to see. Just general impulsive principles here tell me at a minimum 42, at a minimum 42 to equal 1. And 3 should be more powerful than 1, okay? Which is why you see I've got my 3 target here where it is, right? Where it is. That's the most conservative short-term target for 3 on Link. When it happens, who knows? That's the hardest part to figure out. And so on a low time frame, I'm looking at this as a 1, flat correction 2, 3, and we're consolidating 4, okay? How long does this consolidation take is anybody's guess. Can consolidate for months, and then we go to 3. If in fact this is what is playing out, and 3, again, conservatively 42, it could get all the way up to, let's do this. Could get up to 62. 42 to 62 would be the range for the next move. So a 2 to 3x move in Chainlink is what I'm seeing next. That's a long way to go about it, but I'd like to give you all the different scenarios on a daily time frame. Last thing I'll say about this is 4 in. I don't know. I mean, again, these things are very, very difficult to project. I've got the same scenarios as I do with ETH, right? Where you've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then A, B with C yet to come, or you've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move, A, B expanded flat, C is already in, and you're working on a 1, 2. Okay, that gets invalidated if this low is breached, and then we do have another C. If this low at 20.16 is breached, then, then a C is coming prior to, is the best way that I can talk about or visualize that. Last but not least, AMC. All right, AMC. AMC, I think, has got one more leg down, but this has got bottoming written all over it. Bottoming written all over it, right? And why do I say that? Well, I mean, these are just massive, one, two, three, four, five. I see five clear moves into a C, okay? And then, we've got an A. I think we're working on B and at least a C, C coming out of there. And so when does it, if I'm right, when does this reverse? I don't know, but let's just go on a daily. Um, I don't know. But again, this is looking where you've got A, B, and then C here. I've got one, two, three, four, and I like one more move down to a five. And this, little hump here um, makes me think we've got one more move down, maybe to this demand zone, 370, 380, 390, whatever. Anywhere in this green rectangle would satisfy potentially. I mean, it could be satisfied now too, right? Speaking in definitive terms, but this is the way this is looking to me is that we're closer to this next move, which I think could get us to 20. I think this could go to 20. I have no idea what with the health of the company of AMC, no clue. This is simply just me looking at probabilities. Now, if I'm wrong, uh, we come down here and we get some type of movement rejection in this green rectangle and continuation down. That's always a possibility as well. So just my read on AMC. I hope you're all having a great weekend. Thanks again for the subs and the subscribers. Like, retweet, share this video if you found it useful. Take care.